All right, so I'm here with Tim Eisner.
Yep.
Right? And this is interesting because when it came out, you had emailed me because I saw Tidal Blades and I went, oh, Tidal Blades RPG because that's what I covered. And you're like, I didn't do that one. I did Tidal Blades, which is what the RPG is based off of. And I thought, well, this would be a great chance for me to expand out and meet a local legend, which is really kind of fun. But I want to talk about a little bit of board games in general.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in the era when board games were Monopoly. It was all mechanics. It was all just crush your enemies and go through. Board games have changed.
Definitely.
They have a lot more story. They have a lot more nuance to them now. So I'm interested about the development process for it. What's kind of the first premise that you use for the development of some of your games?
So yeah, this theme and story is really important to me. I come from a pretty narrative background. My dad's a creative writer.
Okay.
And just really enjoyed, did a lot of theater and stuff like that, and played a lot of role-playing games growing up. So creating a rich world or a rich narrative is really important to me, and it's really fun in the design process. So the first game I started working on was Grimm Forest. That was sort of based on the fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm.
Oh, cool.
You're one of the three little pigs, and so I was trying to incorporate elements from those stories and different cards and powers that people would have, and just create it, make it a thematic, universe that would be set in. And so with each game, I'm trying to sort of figure out, like, okay, with these mechanics and rules, how do I evoke some of the story and bring it to life?
Gotcha. So they're all kind of intertwined with that. What's kind of been your favorite shift in the development of board games over the 11 years that you've been running the company?
Yeah, so I think the thing that really is bringing it out is sort of like just melding the world and the art and the story together. So bringing it all together. 10 years ago, there was less focus on sort of the art and world building in games.
Right.
And I think I've seen a lot more of people building fantastic worlds, really developing that, bringing that to life. So with Tidal Blades, it was really we were designing the game, also helping the artist write a little bit of the stories of the characters to bring those things to life. And so that just going deeper, so it's not just oh, here's the rules and a pasted on theme or a light theme, but really just getting into oh, this is a world that people can explore and get into.
Which is a really interesting shift. And of course you have this thing now, which is mostly board games. A lot of RPGs are here, which is really kind of cool. And you are working on some games at present, correct?
Yep.
Or you're demoing some games at present.
Definitely.
So we'll get some B-roll footage of it, but can you tell me about the games that you're running right now?
Yeah, so I've got mostly my company's does nature-based games. So it just sort of happened. My first game was March of the Ants, which is about ant colonies. So you're building up, each player it's like a civilization building game, but instead of a space civilization or human civilization, you're building your ant colony, evolving your ant with different body parts to get special abilities.
You turned Sim Ant into a board game.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, good.
So that was fun. And then from there, we just, we've got Canopy, which is a rainforest growing game where each player is growing a rainforest, getting wildlife, growing trees and flowers, and creating an ecosystem.
Cool. And so are these more cooperative games or are they competitive?
So these games are mostly competitive, varying levels. None of them are too aggressive or punchy, but they're, each player's playing for their, the high score, trying to get it.
Okay.
So yeah.
But there's not a crushing out of your enemies right now.
No, March of the Ants has a little bit of battle, but we try to not have people get wiped out.
Gotcha.
It's there will be some conflict for territory. Ants do fight, but there's not just knocking people out of the game.
Okay, cool. So tell me about this. Is this Canopy right here?
So this is Canopy Evergreen, yeah. So this is the sort of sequel to Canopy was the original, set in the tropical rainforest. Canopy Evergreen is our brand new game.
Like a Northwest
theme. I'm from Portland, Oregon, so this is set in my sort of home region.
Okay.
And each player is growing their forest, so they'll be stacking up little trees on their forest board, gaining food from mushrooms and berries, and using that to attract wildlife.
Okay.
And then also getting sets of plants. So this game's got a cool mechanism where you're going to look at a pile, see if you like those cards, and keep them. If not, you can look at the second pile. So it's ooh, what's behind door number 2? Ooh, but if you go to door number 2, you can't go back. So
doing a little bit of a let's make a deal there going on.
Deal, press your luck, trying to get the best cards to help your forest grow.
And is this mostly card based? Are there any dice involved, or is it all card based?
It's all card based. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no dice involved. I actually Tidal Blades, the first tabletop game I did was dice-based, but other than that, I haven't really done any dice in my games. I've been thinking about that recently, of I should do something with some dice, because dice are really fun. And,
they are very fun. Get that, the random element in. So how's the game set up? When you sit down to play, how long does it take to get set up to play, and what all's involved?
Yeah, so it takes about, we try and keep a nice storage solution. We've got little tuck boxes to sort all the stuff inside of it. And so it takes about 5 minutes to get set up, maybe 10 minutes your first time. And
Okay.
then each player gets their own play area. You shuffle up the cards, deal them out, set up the piles for them, and then get people playing.
Cool. And what age ranges?
The other one's 10 plus. It takes about 10 plus. It takes about 20 minutes per player, and there's a little bit of text on some of the cards, but once kids are familiar with that,
They can pretty much go through it.
Go through it.
So very good. What's the youngest you played it with?
With that one, I think probably I played it with like 8-year-olds, but they were
Okay.
pretty astute gamers. They have family, grew up playing games.
Yeah.
And doing that. So
Really cool.
Depends a little bit on that.
And if folks want to pick it up, if they're not fortunate enough to be at PAX, where can they pick this up?
Yeah, so we've got it on the Weird City Games website. That's
Okay.
weirdcitygames.com.
Gotcha.
And then it should hopefully be in a lot of retail stores, online sellers, Amazon, places like that.
And what's your retail for?
Retail is $40.
Okay, sweet. So kind of a fun thing. About how long does it take to play? You said 20 minutes per player?
20 minutes per player. So, 2 players, it's pretty quick, plays in, 30, 40 minutes.
Okay.
3 or 4 is more about an hour, like that. So it's a little bit involved, but it also gives you a nice engrossing feeling, and at the end you've grown your own forest and have built up all these animals in your ecosystem.
Well, I mean, this is a nature base. So what would you would recommend this for like a teacher when you teach people about like temperate rainforest ecologies?
Yeah, temperate rainforest. The cards have little information, facts on them, so people can learn while they're playing. There's, we try and incorporate some of like ecological systems into the game.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
Fire, for example, is generally bad for your forest, but it helps the pine cones grow because pine cones get stimulated by fire to grow new trees. So there's some elements like that. So any nature lovers, people who like the outdoors, hiking, and also beautiful art. We try and work with great artists to sort of bring the games to life.
Yeah, my wife teaches 5th grade science. I'm like, that would be interesting. And who's the artist working on this?
The artist working on this is Vincent Dutray, who's a pretty famous artist in the board game world. He's been doing it for about 20 years and is just really fortunate to work with him. He does an old school sort of, painter style where it's all hand-drawn. He uses, some digital elements, but mostly it's just hand-drawn and really brings it to life in a natural way.
Yeah, I'm going to get some pictures of that because that looks really, really beautiful. It's very old school vibe, a lot of feel to it.
Yeah.
And what's the other game you're demoing?
So our other game is Leaf. So that's the main game. So Leaf is another nature-based game.
Mm-hmm.
In that one, it's a tile placement game. So you're placing tiles onto this board that's shared.
Okay.
But the tiles are all leaf shaped. So they're little cutouts of leaves.
Okay.
And you're placing them down and trying to connect them to the other leaves.
Oh,
and whatever leaves you connect to, you get sort of different actions based on the color of leaf you're connecting to. So if you connect to a red leaf, you get to grow mushrooms. Green leaves get you more leaves. Yellow leaves will get you sun. And so you're just building this nice tableau. And by the end of it, you've got this like forest floor of leaves on the table that the players have all built together.
That's cool. So you're building a mosaic almost of leaves on the table for it?
So it's a mosaic. It's a shared board. It's a competitive game. But that one's real cozy, real just friendly. You've got little squirrels. You're racing up the tree. And it's, it's a nice, simple game, but there's a lot of different elements in there of like small rules that are fun for people to explore.
So you can really tweak the way that the board works out. And what age range for that?
That one is, I believe it says 10 plus on the board, but I played that with kids as young as 6. The puzzle of just connecting the leaves is really fun.
They just love it.
You might not know the strategy or be pursuing the best action, but they're able to just sort of place a leaf and figure out where it goes well. And sometimes the young kids are really tuned in on that. They're like, oh, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, give a 6-year-old a Lego and they know what to do.
Yeah.
So I have one of those, so that's kind of one of those things. And how much is that retailing for?
That one is also $40 at retail.
Okay,
so
cool.
We try and keep them at that, price point that's still affordable. It's a nice production. We try and do that, but also keep it at a reasonable price so players, people can get it and enjoy it with their family.
Yeah, it looks. I'm going to get some footage of it, but it looks really, really cool. And those leaves are really interesting.
Yeah, it's a really cool puzzle. I actually was at like an arboretum up in Washington walking around in the fall, and I was like, wait, this seems like a game. Look at all these leaf shapes, and finally puzzled it together.
So you saw the leaves falling on the ground in the arboretum and went, game!
Yeah. Well, I had been at a board game convention for like 5 days before.
So your brain was right there.
15 hours a day, so all I was thinking about was games.
But still, most people would not think of that.
Yeah. That's the funny thing. Like when I started designing games, I'd be like, go to the coffee shop and be like, what's a game? How do you make a game? What do you do? Now I just can't stop. The ideas just go and go and go.
Okay. Now, how did you get started? Did you your dad was a creative writer, you said.
Dad was a creative writer. Me and my brother like toyed around with games. You know, we'd like play Risk and modify some rules or add some rules. We tinkered around a little bit, but you know, about 12 years ago, I was working actually as an artist making jewelry. I was getting a little burnt out of like making a thing, selling it, you know, like, and then I was playing a lot of board games at the time, and I was like, well, this would be a fun thing to do. I want to do something entrepreneurial again, do my own business. What's something that'll be fun to learn about, even if I don't make any money. And then luckily it was right around the time Kickstarter came along. So board games did really well on Kickstarter. I did my first one. I was like, oh, this is actually something I could do, and like it's going to support me a little bit. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And how many conventions do you tend to do a year?
We're doing about 4 to 5 where we have a booth, and then I go to another 2 or 3 just to like play games or test games and get out there.
Okay, that's really cool. And for folks, like, what is your website for folks who don't mind?
Folks is weirdcitygames.com. So that's just weirdcitygames.com, and or if you search for Weird City Games, then you'll find us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
I'm really grateful for your time. Thank you for waiting for me, because I was a little late getting lost in the shuffle. But really, go check out Weird City Games. Check out, this is Canopy Evergreen, which sounds really cool, that I'm actually tempted to buy for my wife and get yelled at. And also Leaves, which just looks really cool, for especially for kids and for people who like strategy, everybody. But kids can actually jump in and be like, I'm going to beat you.
For a family game, it's great. It's, you know, and it's got enough stuff there for gamers. You can start digging in with some subtler rules, but you can get playing real quick and easy. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thanks for scheduling the time. It was really good to meet you.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll see you again next year.
Awesome. Yeah.
Have a good one.